she was on the top 15 most wanted list for the FBI.
Hi, everybody. I'm Todd Denkin, and welcome back to another episode of Becoming the King of Pot. With me, as always, is my convicted felon cousin, Bruce Perlowin, also known as the King of Pot. Bruce, welcome back to the show.
Thank you, Todd. I'm very excited about today's episode. We have a great guest on.
Yes, we do. This will be part 2 with the Golden Dragon Lady, Judy McNelis. But before we get started, please go to that little subscribe button. Click it. We appreciate it. YouTube will appreciate it. And it really helps us here with our quest at becoming the King of Pot. So, Judy, welcome back.
Hello, how are you doing today?
Good to have you back because you got some exciting stuff to talk to us about today. Last week, we ended the show where you were just getting busted for the first time.
Oh,
So let's pick it up there because I know you have quite an interesting story to tell from being in jail, escaping from jail, and then being recaptured. So let's get going, shall we? So last time we picked it up, you went to the door, there were cops at the door, and you got arrested. So tell us what happened next.
my former boyfriend, lover, father of my daughter had gotten arrested I think in Colorado, maybe Boulder, with 200 pounds, and he gave me up. Just that
Right. So he said he
just
got the
that
weed from
easy,
you,
just that quick. What, honey?
and he said he got the weed from you.
Well, no, he didn't have to say he got the weed from me. He told him what I did, which I was an importer of marijuana on a pretty massive it wasn't as big as they said, but it was quite a few. We kept a lot of people high for a long time, you know?
Right, but
Good
you didn't
herb.
have anything on you when you got busted, right?
No, they never found anything. It was
Right.
all
So what kind of
hearsay.
case did they have
In
against
fact,
you?
I remember, I was just now that you mentioned, I'm in the jail in Valdosta. An old jail, a dirty jail, I might add. I had to clean the damn thing up. And they gave me they had to give us the evidence, right? And it was a stack of papers, 3 feet, 4 feet high. And it was nothing but hearsay. They didn't find a joint on me, a roach, a seed, nothing. But people, they wanted me. And I was an easy target because I had a family. I had a new baby. I was nursing. They finally had to take me to a doctor because my breasts got real caked and I'd bled coming out of my nipples by the time they took me to the doctor. And then they gave me some medicine to dry my milk up. So, but you know what? I don't know. I've never felt bad about anything that I've done in my life. I didn't hurt anybody. I consider marijuana is medicine for modern day man. And as Bruce, how you said, ancient medicine. You added the ancient. You're sort of the pepper. I'm the salt.
Well, yeah, I mean, the ancient Chinese back in 1500 BC,
Yeah.
were using cannabis
Of course.
for healing and cannabis oil for all kinds of things.
Oh, just, it cures you know what? Migraine headache. I had migraine headache from the time I was about 12 until I started smoking herb. And I think I was 28 when I started smoking. So I wasn't a teenager. I was very careful,
Right.
I didn't do a lot of drugs. I didn't drink a lot. I had children. I had a shop. I worked 7 days a week sometimes. So, but there's something.
Right. So you're in this jail. Right. So you're in this jail in Valdosta, Georgia.
Right.
And what happens next?
Well, there's a guy. We're not really separated. A thin wall between the women's section and the men's section, and it's basically a barred room in a big room. So the officers can actually walk down, and you've got no privacy at all. There you are, on the toilet, to be frank. And this guy that was in the men's side, I heard this racket all night long. And about 4:00 that morning, he has broken out of the men's section and come into my section. And he hands me a hacksaw blade. And he's, "Have you got any money?" And I give him a couple of dollars in change. And he leaves, he escapes. And here I've got this hacksaw blade. And I've read all the great, Papillon, all the great escape books, The Count of Monte Cristo. I've read, And so here I am. And it is a natural habit, and it doesn't matter who you are, that if they lock people up in a cage, they attempt to get out. Period. We're not meant to be in cages. That's why going to jail and being in a cage like that is so confining, sort of.
Right.
So
how long do you spend in this Valdosta, Georgia jail?
Well, I was there for a while because the guy broke out. I never heard anything about him breaking out. And he must have sawed through a bar because he gave me the hacksaw blade. I never used a hacksaw blade. And Jeannie Tremolti was also in there with me. She had been arrested. And we were the only two people that were there permanently. But like on the weekend, they'd bring a couple of ladies in that had been DUI or had been in a fight with their father or their husband. And the women always get arrested. The men don't. The women get beaten up by the men. They call the police. The police in this place at the time arrested always the women instead of the men for some reason, which I thought was rather strange, Anyway,
Sure.
So I'm in there. I've got a hacksaw blade, and I've read all the great escape books. So naturally, I start sawing through a bar because I can, anywhere your head will go through, if you can get your head through, you can get your body through.
So how long are you? So you're in Valdosta for a couple of months, and then you have this hacksaw blade. And how long does it take to saw through a bar?
Jeannie Tremolti had also been arrested, so we'd wait until there was a thunderstorm, and then you could really saw because it made noise naturally. So she'd be doing exercises in the hallway, and I'd be sawing, or vice versa. But then something happened. And I didn't find it out until later on when I saw some transcripts. She actually turned me in. Yeah.
Jeannie did?
Jeannie Tremolti turned me in.
Turned you in for the original arrest or turned you in for sawing the bar?
Turned me in because I was hacking through a bar and she had been helping me, but then she had sort of backed off and said she was older and she wouldn't be able to see her family. And so she sort of she wasn't going to come with me, but I didn't think in a million years that she had turned me in. And I remember a day or two before I actually left, the police came and they went. This is a room of bars, and there's like maybe 4 or 5 separate cells barred in, double bunks or whatever, a toilet, a sink. And I had cleaned the damn place. The place was filthy, but I had cleaned it, I had a little kitchen. I used one cell for my kitchen, one cell for the laundry. And my mother brought me beautiful food. I had ice chests full of food, fresh spinach, steaks, whatever, fruit. Yeah.
Seemed like a pretty mellow place to be in jail.
No, jail is jail. And it doesn't
But you're
matter
having nice
how
food, you got
nice
your
it is.
laundry, you got
If
your
you have to be in one spot, somebody's holding you against your will. If you like it, that's fine. But most people don't, you know? No,
Right.
jail is
Okay,
not
so
for
how long does it take to saw through a bar to get your head through it?
I only had to remove one bar.
Hmm.
One bar. And it was so funny because I remember when it actually I didn't know, it came out in my hand. And so then I was committed, you know?
Yeah.
And actually I took soap and sort of glued it back in and took from the shower this silvery plank that was flaking out and I covered it up so that I disguised the fact that it was out. It fell out in my hands. I had to leave, you know? And so I
Yeah,
waited, and
it
Jeannie
sounds
had
like what they did in
decided
that, Escape
she had
from Alcatraz
decided not
movie.
to come. And I remember I had a Vistaril, which is high it's a mild antihistamine, basically. And I remember she asked me for one, and I gave her one, and it causes you to be sleep. And she went to sleep. And I let her go because I wanted her to be truly surprised so she wouldn't be blamed for me leaving. And she had already told me, like 2 or 3 days before, that she had decided not to go. But I never thought in a million years that she had turned me in.
Right.
I
Right.
didn't find that out until I saw
Well,
transcripts later on.
what happened when they searched your cell? You said they came in and were they looking for
Yeah.
us and they
I
didn't
had taken by this time, she had gotten rid of hers or I don't know what happened, but I only had half of a hacksaw blade, and I had taken it and stuffed it down in a bottle of hand lotion or something. But then I ended up having to put it up in the toilet. I jammed it up in the toilet, you know? I don't know if the
Right.
toilet was like just a basin with the top, not a lid, but just a seat, and it was sort of out by everything, and there's just I just took it and jammed it up, you know, and sort of a crook in the pipe right there.
So
Yeah,
talk about your mindset, right? You've sawed through this bar, right?
and it
And
comes out in my hand. So now
right,
I'm
right.
committed to
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
escaping. And, you know, basically, when you're doing something like this, it's basically, uh, instinct, just so that you know you can go. You're doing something. You're instead of just sitting there vegetating, as you know.
Yeah. So you get out of the cell, right? And then what
Yeah, I
happens?
remember, I can see it in my mind's eye. I poke my head out, and I'm looking, and I'm seeing the bars, you know, all of it's just bars. It's a big cage inside a room, maybe 6 or 8 feet walkway all around it, and there's this window, and there's some boxes, and I don't know whether the window was broken or whether it was open, but it was obviously meant for me to get out of. There was boxes there that I just climbed up and went out the window, and then the parking lot had about a 4 or 5 foot fence, a little fence around it, but it was basically I just got out, and I remember I was real thirsty, and I drank the dew off crepe myrtle,
What is that?
beautiful crepe myrtle. I drank the dew off of it, and I find myself just walking down a street called Freedom Drive.
So Judy, this is just fascinating. You know, you've cut through jail cell bars, you've climbed out a window, you are in the middle of nowhere in Valdosta, Georgia. And the funny thing to me is that you have no plan, nobody outside there to get you out
So
or
I ended up getting in, so I think it's a milkman or a bread guy, it's a van of some sort, and he takes me into Valdosta, where I end up going into a little cafe, you know, something there right there on the highway, and had tea and an egg and a piece of toast, and, went over there was a motel, and I looked around and I thought this guy was getting ready to go. And instead, he was moving into a room. And I sort of flirted with him a little bit, and picked me up. I went in with him. He's got a nice room, 2 double beds, which was nice. And what I immediately do is act like I'm on my period because naturally he wants, you know, and I get Kotex and Tampax and put it all over the bathroom and everything. Anyway, he got a little bit mad too at the end, though. He got a little pissed at me because what happened, I knew I was having to leave or having to go to bed with him, and I wasn't going to go to bed with him. And he ate a lot. I gave him a lot of food, and I knew that it would make him sleepy, and I let him to go to sleep. And then I went in, I got whatever little bullshit that I had, and I went out the back door, and I was on the Gulf of Mexico, outside of Anna Maria Island, and where was the guy? I can't remember. Boynton Beach. And I just walked out, and there's the Gulf, and I just walk on down the road. And you know what I did? I took a 6-pack of Heineken or Beck's or something with me, because that I had bought or he had bought for me, I can't remember. And he had money. I could have taken the money. I didn't need it, you know? And I just walk on down the road. So I get maybe not very far, maybe 5 or 6 city blocks. And there's a seawall. And I see this guy, he's leaning out. There's 2 little shacky things right on the beach. And this guy's leaning back like this. Can't remember his name. And I said, "Do you mind if I sit here and have a beer?" He said, "No." I said, "No." I offered him a beer. And, he invited me to stay at his place. And I slept on his floor. He was not a bad guy. But there's this woman next door that had the other little shacky thing. And she had a little girl. And I had left my daughter. And it was like, just for, I can't remember how you feel when you lose your child at that age. It's very disconcerting. And I sort of took her over, And then I started fishing because there was nothing to eat. And I remember the first fish I got, it was God knows what kind. I have no idea. It was only about this long. And, I went in and fried it up. I had to borrow something from the next to an oil or something because I had nothing. They had nothing to eat. And I opened the refrigerator. There was not even ice cubes, When you have a refrigerator and a freezer, you got to have ice cubes in Florida. Anyway, I fixed the fish, and she sat there, and I had to pick the fish away from the bone, and she ate
Yeah.
the whole fish. And I had nothing but the fins, and I ate the fins.
Right, so are you nervous at this point? Do you think the prison guards or the feds are coming after you because you just
No,
broke out of jail?
I'm not, because when you're anonymous, when you really can blend into where you are, you're like a chameleon. You take on the environment that you're in.
Well, hold on. How did you get from Valasta down to the Gulf of Mexico? Hitchhiked or?
That guy took me. He was going to Tampa and he was some kind of business or something. Anyway, I pretended I was on my period so that eliminated for that. I was safe for a few days anyway. Anyway, yeah. So I got away from him and went on my own. And what I did is I watched these boys go out in this little rowboat and throw a net and hang a net out. It's called pantomime. You hook something on the beach and you run your net out and you put a curl in it. And you want to know where the fish are, going, and usually on the tide. And usually there's 2 tides a day, but some days there's 4. And if you can put your nets out, the fish, it's called a gill net. They put their feet and they gill off. And so I've gotten a lot of fish. And pompano at that point were selling for like 3 something a pound, and a beautiful white fish. And so I saw these kids doing it, and I went over to this little beach area that was sort of hooked onto this place. And I said, I saw somebody's nets piled up. It's a fishing village. Everybody's got nets. And I said, listen, I says, I've got a boat. I says, I need to if you got that net. And it was a 5. I don't know why I said 5, but it was like this. It was for pompano, to catch pompano. The fish hit it, and then they can't back up. Their gills catch. And I started fishing and selling my fish. The first time I sold fish, I got $6.56. And by the end of the week, I was getting $50, $60, $80.
So you got a little fishing business.
I loved fishing. It was the best. I loved it. And, I had a bikini on and I got brown, and it's very healthy. I had to sit in the bow of the boat with my legs hanging over the side and roll on this side, roll on this side. Gets you in good condition. Yeah.
Sure.
So
and you're living in these 2 little shacks on the beach?
Yeah. One of them. And the woman whose place it was and how I got involved. And it's strange. I just almost could remember her name. And I'm sorry that I can't, because I can see her, and she had a little girl. And they had no food. No food at all. And pretty soon I had fish, and I had money from selling fish. And, I don't know.
Well, it sounds like you were very resourceful.
Well, I come from a family of fisher people, I remember going down when I was a really little girl, and there was a pond off the main highway. It's called the Newbern Road now, I think. And there was a pond. My grandparents' farm at 160 acres. It had the road came right out, and there was this pond. And I remember my first fish. I had I had a worm on the end of it, big worm with a hook on it, big green worm. And I had a real limber, I can't remember the name of them, fennel, some kind of a fennel. It was so limber, I'd strip the leaves off of it, they're sort of thin leaves, and made it a fishing pole. And I had barely put it in the water, and a fish about this big came on it. Oh, I was so thrilled. Yeah.
So how long do you spend on the beach, with your new fishing business?
Oh, I did that for quite a while, because I was making money, and I also wanted to get my children.
Yeah.
That
So
was
quite
the
a
main
while.
thing,
A
because
month, 2 months, 6 months, a year?
No, I'd say it was in months, maybe 6 months.
Yeah.
And I never really gave that up, because I actually went one time. I remember this one time I made $300 a day. I went on a bigger boat with a bunch of men, and I remember they must have laughed their asses off on me, because a big boat with a net, and you had to pull your net, so they put me right in the middle where all this fish bappy shit goes all over me. Made $300 that day, though. Yeah. So I loved fishing, and I was in Florida, and I was free, and my name was Rachel. And nobody knew who I was. But
Yeah.
there's something about I was the one place I really wanted to be, I couldn't be, which is home with my children. And that
Were
is,
you
It's
Yeah,
almost
were you communicating with any of your sisters or your dad at that point?
no. After I escaped, no, of course not. The last time I talked to my dad the night I escaped, I went to, it was this oh god, I can see it in my mind's eye so clear. It was some kind of little magic market, and there was a phone booth outside, and I had called daddy, and, I remember he said, "Go far and stay long," and I remember I had hung up the phone, and a police car pulled up, and I assured him that I had just called and somebody was coming to pick me up. So strange that I remember those details. Does that
Yeah,
which how your
yeah.
mind works when you put yourself back to where in your past, Bruce?
Yeah, but talking like this with the people that were there, it stimulates your memory, you
Yeah.
know, because it's hard to remember 50 years ago, but if, you and I talk and you say, "Oh, do you remember this, remember that?" So we act as catalysts for each other.
Yeah.
When do you re did you were you wanted? Did you see a wanted poster about on you at all?
Uh, actually, I think the first time I saw a wanted poster on me was when they caught me and they took me out I think it was Atlanta, and they took me through the main, where they had all the desks and everything, sort of paraded me through. I realize that now. At the time, of course, you're sort of shell-shocked, but I remember they had a framed it was about the size of the TV. It was long, it was maybe 2.5 feet by 4 feet, and it was, you know, long like this, and it had the family, all my family, my sisters and everything. It was like some kind of poster thing, very and glassed in, very professionally done, and it was weird to see that, it's like a family tree thing.
Yeah, did they think that your whole family had was a big crime family?
I think so. My dad, he went down he was in prison for 6 years. They called him the professor. He taught the inmate school. He was such a good man. He spoke Spanish and German
Hmm.
and was a
Okay, so you're living for several months on the beach, fishing, eating fish, getting tan,
well,
getting
then
in
I and
shape.
well, become then, the one place you wanna be is home,
Sure.
and that's the one place you can't be,
Yeah.
and, but I get my children, and I have to make money, so I become a dancer in, St. Petersburg. I think it's St. Petersburg. Well, it was St. Petersburg.
Like a go-go dancer or a
Yeah,
stripper? Yeah.
topless, except you had pasties, which covers your nipple, which is like, it's like a big flower over most of your breasts,
Yeah.
and my name was Angel, and my main song was, "Just call me Angel of the Morning." Yeah,
So how long did you, go-go dance for?
I'm trying to think. Uh, about maybe 3 or 4 months, maybe not that long, and, I found out this I had a friend, he was in, Big Pete was his name. Known him a long time. He was in right the middle of Florida. Can't remember the name of the towns very if I looked at a map, I'd know it exactly. And Big Pete had gotten into some kind of problem, and, his friend was a friend of mine, a boyfriend sort of, and Nancy and I would go up there and see them occasionally, and we did a little herb with them, I guess, I'm not sure. And I think one of those guys gave me up or something, maybe not,
But how did they know who you were?
because I had done business with him. Big
Ah,
Pete, yeah. Nancy had done business with him. Big Pete was Nancy's boyfriend, and mine, I can't even remember his name. But he was a friend, and I could point to the place, sort of mid-Florida, you know?
So the marshals are after you because you're a fugitive from Valdosta, right? And they finally catch up to you, and then what happens?
Well,
Well,
before that, Todd, you remember she was on the top 15 most wanted list for the FBI. Not the top 10, the top 15. And I think the only female on the top 15 most wanted list.
Right, so
oh,
so you're on this
Bruce.
most wanted list, and you're living your
Oh, how
life,
they
you're
wanted
kinda
me, but why? I think they just wanted a woman because I remember the actual, detective, I can remember, uh, there was a movie that was popular at this time, and he used the same line on me that this detective used on this woman. I wish I could remember it. He said something about, like, the way you're doing your hair or something like that as I was walking. Just the way he said it, not good. Ugh. Anyway, so they capture me. They find out where I am. I'm trying to think of how they and you know what? It's funny. I knew and how they got me, my daughter had gone out, and she had not come home, and instead of me leaving, because the kid whose place I was renting from or something had told me that they had come by to looking for me, and I could have gone, but I couldn't leave without my daughter.
Bruce, talk about how, you ended up meeting, Judy in prison.
Well, okay, so you're in co-ed prisons, and I'm going to turn that part over to Judy because Svetlana. Well, no, here's what happened. Judy was out of trial when I got to Pleasanton, so she wasn't there, and I met with Lana, and Lana wanted to meet me, Svetlana, the Russian spy, because she was in touch with Nancy. So Nancy would call Lana and say, "Oh, Bruce," and Nancy found out that I was in Pleasanton. I don't know how, and we're all sort of family. I mean, when I say I work with Nancy and Mike and Louie, we're really, really close and in touch a lot. So Nancy knew that I got to Pleasanton, maybe from the newspaper articles or something, and she told Lana that it's okay to talk to me because Lana wouldn't talk to anyone. Espionage, Russian spy, and their
Right,
lawyer
let's
said,
talk about Lana real quick. Let's tell everybody who Lana is.
"Okay." Svetlana Ogorodnikova was a lieutenant colonel in the GRU or the KGB, and she was a Russian spy. She was convicted of espionage. The first FBI agent ever convicted of espionage in America was Richard Miller. She was the Russian spy in that case. It was the largest espionage case of the 80s. She made the best of 60 Minutes for the decade. Well, she was on the best. She was the most watched 60 Minutes in history of 60 Minutes. The best of 60 Minutes for decade of the 80s. Mike Wallace remembers 25 years of 60 Minutes and 35 years of 60 Minutes. The episode on her was on all of those shows.
I'd love
So
to
she,
see those again. I would love to see those.
yes, I would too. Oh, it's hard to find them. I've looked, but I'm sure we'll be able to find them soon with AI and everything, being able to do
I
that
do have that
search.
episode on DVD.
Oh, you
Oh,
do?
really?
I
Oh,
Oh,
do.
you
great.
got to send me a copy, Todd, somehow.
Right.
All right. So she told Nancy said Bruce did not snitch. So you can talk to him because he's not going to snitch. He keeps his mouth shut. So I get message that the Russian spy's looking for me. And my roommate was Joe Chagra. So Joe tells me that from the famous Jimmy Chagra smuggler.
God, I
Um,
remember Joe.
yeah, he was a wonderful human being.
Great
And he,
guy.
yeah, and so I said, "Well, where's the Russian spy?" And he goes, "There. She's that one." So she's walking around, and the first impression was, she's really military because she walked like she was pure military. And so I walk up to her and I go, um, "Are you looking for me?" And she spins around and she goes, "Why? Who wants to know?" I go, "I'm Bruce. I heard you're looking for me." "Oh, you're Bruce. I know your family." So I didn't know who she was referring to. I thought she was referring to Becky because Becky was a jury and trial consultant, and she was, in fact, a jury and trial consultant in the Richard Miller case. You know,
Oh, wow.
so I thought she talked Becky, but it wasn't. She was Nancy, and Judy was out, all right, and her trial. And so we became, that's how I met Lana. Well, Lana was Judy's roommate. So when Judy came back to prison after she won her trial, that one, and so that's how we all got together. We even
Got
took
it.
LSD in prison together.
Yeah, I
Wow, how'd you get
remember that.
LSD?
And I remember you pointing up and you couldn't talk, and you said, "Finally, you got it out, cow." There were
Well,
cows
yeah,
tails,
they were
remember?
when I take acid, it's very
Oh, I
introspective, and I
know,
don't wanna talk.
I
I just wanna.
remember. Yeah.
And so Lana was getting real worried because she says, "Well, he can't talk." And so because there's a cow up on the hill, so I pointed to the cow and said, "Cow, just let him know that I can talk. I just don't want to." How do we
Right.
get
How do you
LSD?
get
Who brought
yeah,
that
how
in,
do you get
Judy? Was
LSD
Oh,
in
that
prison?
guy, he was in God, I remember, almost remember his name. He was in it, and his wife was in. His wife, and they had been arrested. It was great LSD. I only
Well,
did
hold on. Was it
LSD a
Mike
couple times in
Randall?
my life. What?
Was it Mike? Or was it the guy that got a fake ID and he got busted because the baby's name that he used was
Yeah, I
killed?
think he might have been that guy.
Yeah, so it wasn't Mike, it was, the other
It
guy.
was window pane.
Yeah. Yeah,
Uh,
you get any drug in prison that you wanted, and we didn't really want a
we
lot of
didn't do
drugs.
drugs in prison.
No. You know,
We didn't.
just acid that one time. It was
One
a lot
time.
of fun. It was enjoyable.
Yeah, I bet. So, Judy, how how long did you stay in, prison in Pleasanton?
I stayed in Pleasanton, God. Well, I went to trial for the murder of Frank Mars. Came back, was found not guilty in about an hour and 15 minutes, and the jury ate lunch, by the way, in that hour and 15 minutes. I was found not guilty. But to go through a first-degree murder trial in Florida, was it Florida or Georgia? Can't remember.
Florida.
Florida? Oh, it was horrible. Anyway, I came back, and I had a
Whoa, whoa,
20-year
whoa, 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 whoa,
sentence.
whoa, 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 wait one second. How were you accused of murder in Florida? How did that what was that
Uh,
all about?
God, who was I accused of killing at that point? I was accused of killing my pilot, Frank Mars, and I didn't.
Who did kill him?
Uh, this guy that was a sort of a I think Jeannie used him. I think he was a bad man. His
It's
name
in
was
this book, the whole story.
yeah, his name was John Perella. God, that just came to me. John Perella.
He was the guy that shot
And
the
he
pilot.
was a hit man, and he was from Jeannie. I didn't know him from Adam's House Cat. I remember he was in my house in Valdosta, though, and I remember me running my hand through his hair. And I didn't even know this, he had dyed it black, and I thought, "God, this guy's got great black hair." You know, that blue-black. I can remember that, weird as that is, and I didn't know him from Adam's House Cat.
So to answer your question, Todd, this guy was in the habit of killing people and stealing their money. Judy had just got done paying her pilot $25,000, and the guy
50,000.
was 50,000 and drove him
I
away.
don't know that he had it, Bruce. I
Well,
don't
in the
know that
book,
he
they
had
said he
it.
shot him and took the money, you know? And the reason she got cut off is because this guy had done that before. And they brought the guy in who he
Yeah,
shot
in a
6 times
wheelchair.
in a wheelchair.
I had that woman from, Miami, who was my investigator,
I
famous.
don't remember the
They did a
investigator.
they did a program about her. She was
And she found the other guy that he did the same exact thing to. Shot him, took the money.
Mhm.
So, they said Judy hired him. That's not what happened at all. The guy was a friggin' thief and a murderer, and they just wanted to, the prosecutors go wacko and just wanna get a conviction under their belts.
Well, I was
Sure.
guilty of smuggling marijuana, honey,
Yeah.
and that was all it took. I was already guilty.
So you're on trial for murder in the middle of your stay at Pleasanton?
Yes. They drive me down there, these 2 guys, and you know what? I really got the feeling 'cause they drove me from California to Florida. I got the feeling that they wanted me to escape.
That's
I
weird.
swear to God, they took the handcuffs off me, And that guy, for some reason, I drove from California to Florida, and I remember one time they let me out, I was going to the bathroom, and I think he wanted me to leave. He
Hmm.
didn't wanna turn me in. I can't remember
What made you not escape?
because I had already learned something. The one place I wanted to be, which was home with my family, my children, I couldn't. I had to go through to get to that place again, I had to go and get locked up or whatever. I couldn't be on the lam. I couldn't
Right,
run
right,
because that's that's why I got caught in the first place. You can't.
right,
You
right.
the one place you wanna be, you can't.
Yeah.
I
So you
met
s
this man, and he had a beautiful motor sailor, and he asked me to go around the world with him, and I thought about it, and I would have loved to go, but I couldn't leave my children.
yeah.
So,
So what was life like 9 years in prison?
well, I was felony florist. I grew flowers,
Right.
and I supplied the manager and the warden with flowers and I had beautiful gardens. Uh, they were written up in, Esquire magazine. I grew
Doesn't sound much like prison.
I could go anywhere because I was in CMS and my boss was really sweet. He brought me flowered little work clothes. Yeah, because they weren't police officers, they were just hired. CMS, I worked in CMS. Where did you work,
Right.
Bruce?
I worked, on the weight pile. I cleaned up the weights when everybody was in, so I got to do a lot of my exercise by lifting weights and putting them on the rack. I was a weightlifting champion in high school, so I loved working on the weight pile all by myself. I worked out. And then the other place I worked was is in the movie theater when I showed, the movies, and of course, in between the 2 movies on the Friday night, me and Lana would sneak away
Oh, I know,
sneak in.
upstairs, that place upstairs where they had the beautiful tie-dye thing with the sunset and a mattress, yeah.
Yeah,
That
so
there were
we were
places
go
all
you
over
know
that place where you could go, and I think they rented that out for 10 or $20 in quarters.
well,
Didn't
I gave the guard I promised him $50,000 if he would let me sneak in from the movie theater to the room behind it. There was an accordion doors, that would close. You'd
Yeah,
open it up and you have a stage, right,
uh
in the front of the auditorium, or you close it and you'd have a curtain in front of that, and then the movie screen would come down in front of that. Me and Svetlana would go in. I pull the accordion doors out. She'd go in, I go in, and now we're in this room all by ourselves while the movie's playing, and we were making love the entire time, and the guard would say and so that everybody would leave, and the guard would say, "Okay, it's clear," or he'd just say, "Clear," and she'd come out and I'd come out, and we would both go to the bathroom, and the reason we do that because everybody's waiting in line to see the second movie, and when you're waiting in line for an hour and a half, first thing you do, a lot of people, they go and they come in their seats, but a lot of people go right to the restroom to, go to the bathroom. Well, we're in there. They don't know if we were part of the group that went in or not. No one's paying attention. They just gotta pee real bad, right? And then when they came
Everybody
back
was
out,
doing it.
we'd come back out and watch the second movie. So that was our spot. And in fact, I did give the guy $50,000 in stock when I got out of prison. I looked
Wow,
him up and, and he'll be on here. By the way, he said he'd come on the podcast because now he's
Oh, yeah.
retired. And he said, I used that money to bought my car for my daughter and put her through college.
wow.
So that was a nice little twist to being in prison.
We're gonna hear a bunch of these prison stories as we, talk about, Bruce's sentence and his 9 years in Pleasanton, but right now, we are out of time. So, Judy, I just wanna thank you for, coming on the podcast and
Thank you for
sharing your
having
incredible
I enjoyed myself.
good,
It's
just
funny
sharing
how
some incredible stories.
your mind works. It's like you can see it's like a movie in your mind. You're back
Yeah,
there, and you see details that you haven't thought of in so many years. Our
yeah.
minds are great, aren't they?
Yes, that's for sure.
They are really
That's
great.
for sure.
Bruce, it's great seeing you, honey. I love you.
I love you too, sweetheart.
Thank you very
Well,
much, Todd.
yes, my pleasure. That does it for this episode. I'm Todd Denkin. He's Bruce Perlowin. She is Judy McNelis, the golden dragon lady of marijuana smuggling. Thanks for joining us here on Becoming the King of Pot. We'll see you next time.